Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Great to be here.
Today we're plunging headfirst into a truly fascinating intersection. The world of art and the cutting-edge capabilities of artificial intelligence.
Yeah, art and AI.
We're exploring how these two, seemingly disparate fields are coming together to create entirely new ways for you to experience cultural heritage.
Right. Forget just passively looking at things.
Exactly. We're talking about interactive dialogue.
It's really about transforming that static information, the labels and descriptions, into something that feels alive, personal, like having a conversation directly with the objects themselves.
Or with the people who really understand them.
Exactly.
And the sources we've pulled for this deep dive, they get us a fantastic look at how this is being built. Like in the real world right now.
Sure.
We've got documentation for a major museum's public API, specifically the Art Institute of Chicago.
Oh, okay. AIC. Good one.
Yeah. And we've dug into details from their API's GitHub repository, checked out excerpts from a project's website called WebSpark.ArtSpark.
ArtSpark, right.
And read a blog post detailing the creation of that very project titled Building ArtSpark, where AI meets art history.
So that combination gives us both the underlying technical foundation, the raw material, if you like, and the creative, almost revolutionary application of that material.
Exactly. Our mission today is, to unpack how one developer took this incredibly rich museum data and layered some AI magic on top.
AI magic, I like it.
To build a platform that lets you have conversations, believe it or not, with the art itself.
Right.
It's truly a shortcut, maybe, to being well-informed about an artwork, but in a surprising, engaging, and frankly, kind of magical way.
Sounds fascinating. Let's get into it.
Okay, so let's start with the absolute foundation of this project. Before any AI could talk about art, it needed something to talk about.
Right, the data.
And that something is the incredible treasure trove of data provided by the Art Institute of Chicago through their public API.
Right, the API.
And the AIC's API, according to the sources, it's like finding a Michelin star restaurant menu if you're a developer.
Huh. Yeah.
It's described as a developer's dream because it provides access to an astonishing amount of data. We're talking information on over 120,000 artworks.
That's huge. That's a massive collection to draw from. It offers a really deep well of context and detail for an AI to work with.
And what kind of detail are we talking about?
You can pull out incredibly detailed metadata about each piece. Things like the artwork's unique ID number, its title, who the artist is, artist display, where it was made, place of origin, the exact date, day display, what materials were used, medium display,
Wow.
and rich descriptive content about the piece itself.
So you have this incredibly rich, well-structured data source from one of the world's great museums. That's the solid ground, as the blog post puts it.
The foundation.
Now, this is where the magic really begins. The ArtSpark vision.
Right. This is where the creative leap happens. The developer behind ArtSpark, Mark Hazelton, he discovered this incredible API and had, a truly revolutionary thought.
Which was?
Most online museum experiences are about looking at art and reading facts. But what if you could actually talk to it?
That's the part that immediately grabbed me. We're all familiar with the little labels next to a painting in a museum, right?
Sure. Title, artist, date.
Yeah. Title, artist, date, medium, maybe a brief paragraph of context. Useful, definitely, but it's entirely one way. You read it, you move on.
It doesn't necessarily capture the deeper stuff, right? The emotional resonance, the cultural context, the history kind of embedded in the piece.
Exactly. The vision was to go beyond just delivering facts about an object. It was about exploring its meaning, its history, its context. Maybe even trying to capture a sense of its, perceived experience or purpose.
It was ambitious. The concept was to create distinct AI personas that could embody different perspectives related to an artwork, allowing for a dynamic conversation.
And this is the heart of the ArtSpark project, meeting these 4 distinct AI personas that you can choose to converse with.
This is what's truly innovative here, I think, because they designed not just one, but 4 unique lenses, basically, through which to explore an artwork.
Okay, let's break them down. The first, and maybe the most surprising, is the artwork itself.
Yeah, this one's wild. This persona speaks in the first person, giving the object a voice. The blog post gives a fantastic example using the Art Institute's helmet mask in Dolly Joe.
How does that work?
Well, imagine the mask saying something like, "I am a helmet mask, carved in early 20th century Sierra Leone. I remember the hands that carved me, the ceremonies where I danced, and the long journey that brought me to this museum.
Wow.
This persona attempts to capture the spiritual essence and cultural significance of the object, using all that detailed metadata from the API about its origin, its purpose, like its connection to the Sende society, and the water spirit in Doli Jawe and its history.
That's incredible. Okay, who's next?
Then there's the artist. This persona aims to bring technical insights and cultural expertise, from the creator's perspective.
Assuming the artist is known.
Right, like in the example attributed to Mustafa Ado Dasama. They might explain things like, I am Mustafa Ado Dasama. The geometric patterns you see aren't random. Each line represents spiritual concepts passed down through generations. It grounds the artwork in the practice and intention of its maker.
Makes sense. Persona number 3.
You also have the curator. This is the voice of scholarly context.
Ah, the museum perspective.
Exactly. Providing insight into the artwork's place within the museum's collection, its provenance, where it came from, how it was acquired, why it's significant to the institution. They offer that institutional viewpoint.
And the last one.
And finally, the historian. This persona offers the broadest perspective, connecting the artwork to its specific historical moment and the wider world.
How so?
The example provided is powerful. When this mask was created, the region was experiencing significant cultural changes due to colonial influence. Yet this piece demonstrates the resilience of traditional spiritual practices despite these pressures. They really paint the picture of the artwork's world.
So instead of just reading a static label, you can ask a question and get a response tailored to one of these 4 rich viewpoints.
Exactly. It's like having a panel of experts and maybe the artwork itself available for a personalized chat.
That sounds incredible. Now, let's briefly touch on the tech that makes this feel so magical, keeping it fairly high level as the project documentation seems to.
Yeah.
They built the core application using pretty standard web technologies like .NET 9 and MVC. But the real engine, the thing managing these different AI personas and their conversations, is something called Microsoft Semantic Kernel.
Right. That's the AI orchestration layer. And what's fascinating here is how they leveraged modern AI capabilities. Initially, the AI could only work with the text metadata pulled from the API, the descriptions and facts.
Okay.
But a major breakthrough, according to the blog post, was the arrival of models like GPT-4 Vision.
Ah, the vision models.
Yes. This allowed the AI personas to analyze the actual visual elements of the artwork, not just what the database said about it.
That's a crucial difference. It's not just summarizing the description. It's looking at the image itself and incorporating what it sees into the conversation.
Exactly. They use that helmet mask example again to really show this visual analysis in action. You could ask the helmet mask persona, what colors do you see in yourself?
And what would it say?
It could respond based on both its visual analysis and the cultural context from the data, saying something like, looking at myself, I can see my deep brown wooden base, vibrant red ochre around my mouth, white kaolin clay highlighting my eyes, and black charcoal creating the linear patterns across my forehead.
But it doesn't stop there.
No, and this is key. It adds the meaning. These colors hold spiritual significance in Mende culture. That ability to blend visual input with rich cultural metadata is what makes the conversation so insightful.
That's really powerful. And they implemented something clever they called smart vision integration.
Yeah, this is interesting from a practical, cost perspective.
How does it work?
The system is designed to detect if your question is likely about visual aspects. It looks for keywords like see, color, shape.
Okay.
It only sends the image data to the powerful AI vision model when it seems necessary. For other questions, maybe about history or the artist, it relies solely on the metadata.
Which is more efficient and cheaper, presumably.
Exactly. It helps manage the costs associated with using those big vision models. Very practical.
Shows some smart engineering.
Definitely. Plus, they built in the ability for the system to remember the conversation history and maintain context. That is absolutely key to making the dialogue feel natural and engaging over several turns, rather than just, a series of unrelated Q&As.
When you interact with something like this, the goal is often for the technology to just disappear, right? To fade into the background.
Ideally, yes.
The user experience with ArtSpark is described as feeling magical, precisely because it presents a familiar chat interface, something most people are comfortable with now.
Right, like texting.
But behind it is this sophisticated AI orchestration, all powered by that incredibly rich museum data.
It transforms passive viewing into an active, dynamic dialogue. You're not just looking, you're asking, you're exploring, you're getting personalized insights. That's the key impact here, making the art accessible on a much deeper level.
Now, building something like this, especially dealing with cultural heritage, it wasn't without its challenges, I imagine.
Oh, for sure. The blog post specifically calls out cultural sensitivity as a major consideration.
Which makes total sense.
Yes, absolutely critical. Ensuring respectful representation of sacred objects, like that helmet mask example, was paramount.
How did they approach that?
The project aimed to maintain a serious educational focus, rather than just being a novelty, just for entertainment. And transparency was key, making it clear that these are AI interpretations based on available data and analysis.
Right. Not the objects, literally speaking.
Exactly. They addressed these through careful design choices and, importantly, how they prompted the AI models, giving them the right instructions and guardrails.
They also mentioned optimizing for performance using techniques like that smart image inclusion we discussed, and caching previous conversation segments to minimize repeated calls to the AI models or the API where possible, just smart optimization.
And the architecture itself is designed to be modular and scalable. The core functionality is built as a reusable library, demonstrating patterns that could potentially be extended or repurposed.
So you could maybe swap in data from a different museum?
In theory, yes. Or potentially use different AI models down the line as technology evolves. It seems built with flexibility in mind.
And this brings us to the broader impact and the potential of this whole approach. This idea of using AI to create conversational access to cultural collections isn't limited to just one museum or just art, is it?
Not at all. The core concepts and architecture are documented and shareable.
This project really demonstrates a powerful new model for engaging with art and cultural heritage. It transforms that traditional, often passive museum experience into something interactive, personal, and deeply engaging.
It gives you a way to ask the questions you care about and get answers from multiple unique perspectives. It's like having your own personal guide or guides.
Providing a shortcut, maybe, to being genuinely well-informed in a way that feels like exploration, not like doing homework.
Exactly. And AI, in this context, it isn't replacing human expertise, but augmenting it. It acts as a kind of cultural bridge.
How so?
It helps translate complex ideas, histories, spiritual meanings across cultures and time, making them accessible through the familiar interface of conversation.
It shows how technology, when applied thoughtfully and with cultural sensitivity, doesn't have to distance us from our cultural heritage. I think that's a common fear.
It is.
Instead, projects like ArtSpark prove it can actually bring us closer to it, allowing for a level of personal connection and understanding that wasn't really possible before. It shifts the museum experience from just look and read to ask and discover.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it really does raise an important question, doesn't it?
Yeah. What stands out to you as the big takeaway here, the final thought?
How might these types of AI-powered conversations reshape not just how we learn about the past and understand art,
Right.
but how we think about the very nature of cultural institutions and their role in connecting us to our heritage, both in the present and, looking towards the future.
What other untapped collections could come alive through dialogue?
Exactly. What's next?